What is up, Carmen Nation? Welcome into another edition of NBA Live. Today is for February 11th, Thursday. It is myself, Justin Bales, and Joey here for another, actually not that bad of a Thursday slate with 5 games. We do actually have some interesting games with, Houston, Miami, Golden State plays, Portland, Philly is one of the better games on the slate. So really, we can just dive right into it. But before we really get started, Joey, what do you think of this slate?
I'm a pretty big fan. Don't have too much injury news we're waiting on. Doesn't look like we're gonna have a lot of cheap, chalky plays so far, at least that we know of. So, looks like a pretty good slate so far, and I'm excited to get right into it.
Yeah, for the injury news, it's basically Orlando and then OG Anunoby. Um, that's more or less pretty much what we're waiting on. Evan Fournier, Cole Anthony are questionable. I think Michael Carter Williams is also questionable. But getting into it at point guard, I feel like a lot of the top options are more expensive, and there's not really that much value here. That's just what's sticking out to me initially. Who are you looking at for point guard?
Yeah, it looks like Steph Curry is over 10K. I don't know if I can pay 10K for Curry. Maybe if someone gets ruled out, but he's probably not going to drop me 50 tonight unless it's 50 gets one of those like 57 real points out of it. But so I'm probably not going to be end up playing Curry. But looking down here, Damian Lillard's always in play with CJ McCollum still out. So I'll most likely be looking at him, especially that's a late night hammer. It looks like that has the highest total on the slate. So I'll most likely be fading Curry and going right down to Damian Lillard. But other than that, we have John Wall and Victor Oladipo playing. So it's not like we have the easy play right there. Looks like John Wall is probable tonight. So we don't have one of those chalky Victor Oladipo or John Wall slates. But we also have that Toronto guards. We got Fred VanVleet and Kyle Lowry. It seems like one of them goes off every night. So you really got to pick and choose who goes off. So it's kind of those guys are GPP plays for me because I never know who's going off. It seems like Fred VanVleet goes off every other game, and then they kind of just switch off going off. So it looks like VanVleet had a bad 14 point, 30 fantasy point game last time, so most likely we're going to get a Fred VanVleet 30 point, 40, 45 point fantasy game tonight. That just seems like how it goes. And Boston doesn't really scare me defensively. Kemba Walker, Jaylen Brown, I don't really trust their defense, so one of them should have a good game. Lowry's cheaper, you got 1,200 less. So I'll be looking at one of those guys to fill up another point guard spot, and then we got that Portland game. Portland doesn't play much defense, but Ben Simmons isn't really a scorer, but up pace, a lot of assist opportunities, so we could see a triple-double watch from Ben Simmons. And do you think Ben Simmons going to have a ton of ownership tonight?
No, I don't think it's a ton, but I do think he'll get some.
Yeah,
I,
5 game slate, so everyone's
he'll
going to have some.
probably be under-owned for what he should be realistically in the matchup.
Yeah, so I like Ben Simmons too. And then Brogdon's coming off a dud game. I know he screwed me over for prize picks last night. We had him paired with a winner, but Malcolm Brogdon, of course. The Pacers just could not do anything in the first half. It was pretty crazy. I got a live bet on them when they're down 30 to have a good third quarter to cover the third quarter spread. And that hit, which was nice. But yeah, coming off a dud game, and Detroit doesn't scare me too much defensively, so we might see some recency bias coming in. These Pacer guys getting them a little lower owned than they should be, but it doesn't seem like recency bias is too much of a factor compared to other years. So I might go right back to Malcolm Brogdon. So we'll see tonight, though.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like I'm fine with either Curry or Lillard. I think I'd probably lean Lillard slightly. And then if you want to drop down 1,500, Ben Simmons, I 100% agree. The next tier for me would be John Wall and Kemba Walker. I would like to point out that Kemba Walker's 5,500 on FanDuel. It's
Oh,
basically
wow.
a lock. Yeah, you're just going to play him there.
Yeah.
And I feel like those five are more or less the top options for me. I do think that Malcolm Brogdon's fine. I think Cole Anthony at 54, if you want to go down a little bit cheaper, is a reasonable play, assuming he's in. And then if you're trying to drop all the way down, Tyrese Maxey should get about 20 minutes tonight with Shake Milton doubtful. Just make sure that Milton obviously is ruled out prior to playing Maxey, but if he gets 20 minutes, it's not that bad of a salary relief option. Someone said Frank Mason if Cole Anthony's out. Yeah, I'm more or less fine with Frank Mason. I do think that he's going to be riskier if Michael Carter Williams and Evan Fournier both play as well. But if Anthony's out, Mason should get enough time to value, I would assume. But we can move to shooting guard, which is just an absolutely brutal position tonight. I think it's truly an atrocious position. The guys that stick out, I feel like Maxey, already talked about him. He's only 3,200. Seth Curry, I think it's a really good matchup for a scorer, and that's what Curry does. I recommended him when they played Sacramento the other night, and it worked out well. And then the other guy that I like is Tyler Hero. I feel like is a really good play. Problem is he's priced up as 64, and Houston is very good defensively. So for me, it seems like I'm probably just going to drop down to one of these Philly guards. But the position is just absolutely brutal. I don't know if there's anyone at shooting guard that you feel strongly about, but who are you looking here?
Yeah, I guess we got Norman Powell. He's small forward eligible too. If we got OG out, he'll slide in the starting lineup again. He's a little priced up, so I'm not sure. He's not like a must play if OG's out, but he's definitely a scorer against Boston, so not too much to worry about defensively. He has 30 plus in 3 straight games, and he's been doing pretty well with OG out, which is why his price has gotten a little higher than it should be. On a normal slate, I probably wouldn't play him at 6-7, but on these smaller slates, he's definitely worth a look. You also have Andrew Wiggins if his shot's on. Orlando does struggle against shooting guards. So if his shot's on and he's scoring well, he could be a great GPP play. But yeah, it's tough. I have yet to get on here with a good shooting guard slate for some reason.
It's crazy.
I never get good shooting guards. But yeah, Seth Curry, especially if Shake Milton misses, they're going to need some scoring from one of these role players. So Seth Curry definitely, against Portland defense, definitely a great play. So that's probably where I am looking also. And then Anthony Simons, if you want to take a chance, 4-2. He's getting decent playing time. It looks like he was on a minutes limit a little while ago, but it looks like he's getting up into the 20 minutes more often now. So definitely an interesting late game hammer you can use. And then maybe if you want to take a chance, if Shake Milton is out, Furkan Korkmaz, another scorer just like Seth Curry, and if his shot's on and you get that DK 3-point bonus, it's definitely an interesting spot just because it's such a bad shooting guard night. It's kind of worth taking a punt for those shooting guards. But yeah, that's probably all I'm looking at also. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Evan Fournier, if he's healthy and full minutes, is fine. I just don't necessarily trust it. Someone said Duncan Robinson. I think Robinson's okay. He's going to get minutes, but Houston's defense is really good. So he's not, being that he's like strictly a scorer, he's not really someone that I'm overly on. I would just rather play Seth Curry in basically the same price range.
Yeah.
But moving to,
he is cheap, so if his shot's on, he's worth a shot. Just because it's a 5-game slate, you're taking chances on players you wouldn't normally do. And if he's taking 8 to 10 3-pointers, and if his shot's on, he could end up getting you 15 to 21 points just from 3-pointers alone. So that could end up hitting you value. But like you said, Houston, great defensively, one of the best defensive ratings in the league since the Harden trade. So tough to take him, but at 4-5, it's worth a shot.
We can move to small forward, which, unlike shooting guard, is relatively loaded with Jimmy Butler, Jaylen Brown, Jaren Grant. Ben Simmons is small forward eligible. You even have Kelly Oubre, who's been a solid fantasy option. And then you have the cheaper guys that you can use, like Derek Jones Jr. is back, and he's supposed to play full minutes. So where are you looking at for small forward? Because I just rattled off basically 5-6 guys that make really good options tonight, unlike shooting guard, where we have probably not a single player that we want to use.
Yeah, I love small forward. Jimmy Butler, 8-4. He's the highest priced small forward, and for good reason. He's just been stuffing the stat sheet every single game. He seems to be flirting with a triple double, 8+ rebounds, 8+ assists every single game. He's been back from injury. He's had some easy matchups, so it's definitely inflated his fantasy points a little bit. But at 8.4, his price hasn't really matched what he's been doing lately. He can easily get you 5x on a slate where 8.4, definitely you're not sacrificing a ton of salary for him. But it is Houston, again, great defensive team. But since he gets so many peripherals and just makes him a great play. And if Duncan Robinson's shot is on, he might get a couple more assists to get him that double-double or triple-double bonus. Touched on Ben Simmons. Love Ben Simmons. Again, we touched on him from the point guard spot. But Jaylen Brown, definitely a great scorer against Toronto. Should be, if OG is out, that makes their defense a little bit worse. And that's probably who, I guess Jaylen Brown's more of a, he's playing the shooting guard role right now, right? So I guess it wouldn't matter as much if OG plays, because he'll probably have Fred VanVleet on him. But yeah, he's a great scorer, gets a ton of rebounds. So great play there because they'll be shooting a lot of threes, so a lot of long rebound opportunities. And then you have Jaren Grant, great scorer. You can play him anytime he's under 8K. He got over 8K for a little, but back down under 8K for some reason. They just don't feel like adjusting his price. It took them forever. Books forever to price up his props. He went over most times in the first couple weeks of the season just because I don't know why. They just don't feel like Jeremy Grant's a good player, but he's probably going to win most improved this year. He's just great role in Detroit. And is Blake Griffin in? Blake Griffin's in. So it does hurt him a little bit, but not too much at that price point. You got Oubre and Wiggins straight down in the mid tier. If their shots are on, it's always the same thing. If their shot's following, they're a great GP play. But if their shot isn't following, you're going to end up with a floor game. So that's mainly up top. And then you lose some of that Houston value like Tate and House with both Wall and Depot playing. So not much value there in Houston, but you have James Ennis again. If there's players out for the Magic, James Ennis gets a bigger role scoring wise. So he can get you 30 plus in a good matchup. And then Danny Green, I hate playing Danny Green. Say it every time on the pod, but again, good 3-point shooter. So if his shot's on, especially with Shake Milton out, he's gonna have to get his shot going. But that's probably where I'm going with for small forwards.
Yeah, I think honestly I'm probably going to pay up. I think Jeremy Grant, Jaylen Brown really stick out. Jimmy Butler, and then Ben Simmons. Like all of them are really good plays. And if you can't get to them, just try to at least get to Kelly Oubre. If you're paying down, the one guy that kind of sticks out to me is Grant Williams. He's getting bigger minutes, and he's not that bad of a fantasy option. So I don't think that he's absolutely crazy or anything, but I do think that he's a realistic option on a 5-game slate where he's only 3,600.
Yep, and Time Lord's out, right? So he could see a couple extra more minutes.
Yep. So moving to power forward, we have a lot of guys that are small forward, power forward eligible that we talked about, but we have guys like Jason Tatum who makes a really good play. Domantas Sabonis, again, really awesome option. His price is actually starting to get to where it should be at 88. It should be right around 9, probably basically every night. But really good option along with Tatum at 100 difference. I believe if I had to pick right now, I think I would probably prefer Tatum slightly, but nothing too much. I also think that Tobias Harris is a solid option against Portland. Kelly Olynyk is only 5,000. I do think that he's a good option. Derek Jones Jr., I mean, he's here once again. I'm fine with that. If you want to take a shot, Chuma Okeke is getting some minutes, and he's only 3,600. Blake Griffin's been solid. But again, the top options are like Jeremy Grant, Kelly Oubre, Jason Tatum, Sabonis, Draymond Green, I think you can put in there. Who are you looking at here? Is there anyone that just basically sticks out ahead of everyone else?
I love Sabonis. Bigs have just been destroying destroying Detroit all year. I know he's not playing center with Turner playing, but he's coming off a Doug game. Well, his team, I guess, is coming off a Doug game. So they're looking to get a nice bounce back. So Sabonis, love his ceiling tonight. And Tatum screwed me last time. I took the chance playing Tatum. I messed up my lineup, so I couldn't switch off Tatum to Vucevic that other night against Utah on the 9th. Coming off a Doug game, he really didn't get many rebounds. He couldn't get many assists, but that's obvious with Jaylen Brown back. He's not going to have those assists. But if his scoring's there, they're going to need it against Toronto. He's a great play, so I love spending up there. Siakam obviously is a great play too. So it's a pretty top heavy position tonight. But yeah, you touched on most guys I liked. Juan Toscano Anderson, always looking out for him. He's not getting the same minutes he used to with those 30, 40 minutes, but he's still making use at 5K. Wouldn't play him on a bigger slate, but again, small slate, so he's worth the shot. Just at 5K, who's got that rebounding upside. So yeah, that's probably all I'm really looking at power forward, probably condensing it to the higher price guys.
Yeah, I feel like it's relatively similar to shooting guard, except for I think there's a little more value that I would be fine taking a shot on, I guess, here. Moving to center, I mean, similar to most slates, there's just a ton of ridiculously good center options. So who are you looking at here? Is it like a spend up? Because I don't necessarily know if you have to spend all the way up, but it doesn't look like there's too many cheap options that really stick out or anything. So who are you looking at here?
Yeah, center is always loaded. Tough making that choice every time. But you got Embiid and Vucevic up top at over 9K. Embiid's a little pricey, but he does get Portland, bad defense, going up against Cantor. I think he dropped 37 last time they played. But the second half, he had 40 fantasy points the first half and ended up with like 6 the second half. He screwed us over in props that game. He was just extremely lazy in the second half for some reason. 5 rebounds against him. Really a floor game for rebounds and a ceiling game for points. So if he's able to get those ceiling rebound numbers up, great play. But 10-8's pushing it a little bit for price wise. And Vooch, if Fournier is out, I'd prefer Vooch. I don't think I can pay 9-4 if Fournier is playing. But great matchup against Golden State, coming off a great game. He's got over 60 fantasy points in 2 of the last 3 games. The Chicago game, he only got 24 minutes for some reason. So he's making big use of his minutes with Fournier out. So he's priced up a little too much for me if Fournier is in, but that price is basically there if Fournier is out. So I prefer him if Fournier is out, obviously. And then you have Bam, 8-6. He's pretty volatile. Those rebound numbers go from double doubles to 4 to 6. So it's kind of tough to play him in cash tonight, but I don't play cash on small slates like this anyway. So against Houston, good matchup. It's a tough defensive matchup, but that could lead to more rebounding opportunities for him for sure. And then you have Cantor, obviously great play every night at 7K. He always provides that ceiling of over 40 points, especially against a true center. He can get tons of rebounding opportunities, a great rebounder. And Cousins, obviously always in play at 6'9". He takes a little drop off with Depot and them all back, but he hasn't really been playing the fourth quarter. They've been going small, but I don't think they can go small against Bam. So probably will get some decreased ownership, but still a great play. And Turner, like I said, with Sabonis, bigs are destroying Detroit. So definitely could be a good GBP option coming off an 8-point dud. So I doubt anyone plays him. And then you have Boucher. Obviously has been a great play. Ceiling's always there. He has huge block upside. Great 3-point shooter, stands in the corner a lot and shoots some threes. So if his 3-point and the blocks are there, then he could definitely see a ceiling game, which I don't see much ownership coming in on him at all. So love those guys.
Yeah, I agree with basically everything you said. I think I like Vucevic a little bit more than you do tonight, regardless of Fournier. Honestly, I feel like he's probably the best option. instead of going over what you've already talked about, there's one thing I want to add, and it's that Detroit gives up a ton of blocks to opposing centers, and that's like Miles Turner's forte. He's just an elite blocker. So I do think that this could be a Miles Turner ceiling game, and it doesn't look like he projects for a lot of ownership. And then on the other side, the only guy that I'm really going to add to the player pool that we didn't discuss is Mason Plumlee. His price is now up a little bit at 6,100, but he's getting plenty of minutes and is just flashing tremendous upside. I don't necessarily love him or anything on this slate, but I do think 6,100 is way too cheap for what he's been doing. So I do think that you can go there. Outside of that, though, you basically discussed everyone that I would be willing to put in my player pool tonight. You have guys that we talked about at power forward as well. They can be added. I guess Daniel Tice, if you want, at 4,900. I think he's power forward eligible, and FanDuel makes a solid option there. But he's a decent play, but nothing that I would get too excited about.
Yeah, he might see a couple more minutes without Robert Williams too, which could help him reach value at no ownership.
Yep. So let's go with Ben on this one. What's a bold call for tonight for me?
Bold call. Let's see. I'll let you go first. I got to figure out my bold call.
All right, I'm gonna go. Miles Turner gets a double with 5 or more blocks.
Oh, that's a good ceiling game.
Yeah, I really like Miles Turner tonight, honestly.
Yeah, let's see. My bold call. I'll go with a. I'll go Jaren Grant gets 30 plus real points. I guess not too bold. He's gotten 30 in the past 2 games, but he's going to continue that 30. I'll say 32. Continue that 32 points streak going on.
32-point streak. All right, that's all we got for you guys. So as always, you can go to dfskarma.com, pick up our packages. I know we have NASCAR tonight. It starts this week. I think there's a big NHL slate. We have NBA, just a lot going on. So you can go there, find our packages. The optimizer, you can get a free trial of it. So I would highly recommend doing that. Also, all of our free content is at dfskarma.com. So head there, check everything out. Thank you for listening, and good luck tonight.
All right, we'll see.